Welcome to the Performance Portfolio Podcast with Coop and Coop. Greg Cooper and Cooper Allen bridge the gap between performance and finance to help you build a stronger life and a more resilient future. Let's get into today's episode.
Coop, I got a bone to pick with you, my friend. You didn't like my last post, or the post before, or the post before, or the post before. Why didn't you do that?
Good question. I don't know. I guess I'm not scrolling. Guess I'm raising kids and running a business.
Oh, you have a life?
Yeah, my screen time might say otherwise, but yeah, I guess so.
All jokes aside, that is what we're talking about today. And yeah, I've seen a few reels. I've actually had a lot of interactions with friends of mine that either are entrepreneurs, are in the fitness industry, and however, or whatever they're doing in life, they're promoting it online. And whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, inevitably everybody has family and friends on our list of followers and friends. And more often than not, it seems that they're the individuals that support the least online. Now, that's not necessarily a good or bad thing, but it's definitely a fact that if you looked at everybody's feeds, it's typically like strangers that cheer the loudest. And it's kind of a weird phenomena. And we're going to dig into that today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because there's a lot of moving parts to this conversation, and I don't know if I have a firm opinion yet on the topic or an understanding of why it shakes out that way, but I'm looking forward to going a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I, I've probably thought more about this than necessary, but the way I've approached these conversations, because or not typically, but recently the people talking to me about this have kind of come to me asking advice as like from the performance coach lens, like how they should view it, if it even matters, if they're thinking too hard about, does it matter that my cousin or my brother or my mom or dad aren't liking or sharing this out? And in general, I say it depends. So our family members should be, by definition, our biggest supporters, our best friends, like the circle, right? Your circle, those are the people that should cheer the loudest for you. And social media aside, just in general, if they're not the ones, maybe they aren't in your circle. But on the social media side, there's a few factors. So I'll go to the parents, right? First, we got to look at the facts before people start like, oh my God, they didn't like it. Well, I know for sure my dad is never going to see 90% of the stuff because he's not on it. He has Facebook to like sometimes look at Marketplace, but he doesn't even have the patience for that. My dad's 71 this year. He's not, and he's very tech savvy. He's just not a social media guy. And he was a teacher, so he didn't really have a need or a want to see what was happening. My mom has it basically to keep in touch with like distant cousins, like Facebook. That's it. She doesn't know what TikTok or Instagram is or how to use those. Now, then there's, your siblings, your cousins. And how I've approached these conversations is a lot of people just fall into the social media trap of the negative, the trendy, the stupid, the not positive. And I used to get really frustrated myself because I would see my cousins or my other friends that I would consider like close enough friends where I'm like, why aren't they sharing out my content or like liking it at least? But I literally just saw them share something about Trump or whatever the geopolitical thing is that they have no idea about, or like some Karen they ran into on the street that pissed them off, and they decided that was more productive than, you know, sharing something positive. So it's not as straightforward like they're wrong or right. I think you have to look at the facts of the people around you and what they value and what they believe in. But there is a point where it's like, why aren't you, taking that time to at least like try to fill your feed with some more positive, business focused things?
For sure. And there's definitely two different sides of the coin that we'll have to talk about on the podcast today. There's the side of the creator, and then there's the side of the consumer. So I'll speak directly to the creator probably for the first little bit of the episode, and then we'll talk about, hey, what are some more productive ways to consume content and things you can be doing to support your community and support the people you care about. On the creator side, the first thing I'll say, and I did put a post up about this recently. It was a reel, Greg, to your point about uh, friends and family when you post typically kind of give an eye roll, or they're indifferent about it, or they're negative about it. Maybe they're talking a little bit of smack, and then it's the strangers that are like, "Heck yeah, man, great post, tons of value, etc., etc." So um, I do lean probably more towards the side of uh, I think there should be more support among friends and family for sure. In saying that, though, speaking directly to the creator, whether the support is there or not, that shouldn't be why you're doing it in the first place. So I want to start there. If you need to do the initiative that you're doing, whether it's 75 hard or some other fitness challenge, whether you're raising money for charity, whether you are running a business, if your primary motivator is recognition, you are doing it for the wrong reason. So I get that I don't want to talk you out of doing something if you're going to do it for recognition, because if the end cause is a good thing, then we need more good things in the world. So I guess I don't want to talk you out of doing it necessarily, but I would challenge you to find a deeper reason beyond just wanting to be seen and wanting to be heard. I get that that's a core human need, but try to transition that desire into, I want to do this out of duty to serve my community, whether I get recognized for it or not. I'm going to donate to the homeless guy. I'm going to open the door for somebody. I'm going to give up my seat on the bus, not because I want other people to see me as a good person, but because I am a good person. That's my standard. That's my identity. So, any thoughts on that, Greg?
I really do that. I was muted. I really appreciate the comment you made on if you're doing it for the recognition, you're doing it for the wrong reason. Because this is where I'll share a personal story. When, I look 5 years back, really when I started making a lot of content and like putting out the quotes and the reels, and I would get really angry because I was doing it for recognition. I didn't know, but that's what I was doing subconsciously. Until somebody asked me and close to me, they went, "What are you trying to prove?" And I went, I was kind of putting that stuff on social media with a bit of a chip on my shoulder. Like, I'm doing things that you're not. You should be doing this too. And I think inevitably a lot of creators, regardless, whether it's fitness, business, whatever they're doing, there's a piece of that at some point. So yeah, you have to check that ego and you have to sit down and go, why am I doing what I'm doing? Am I posting this to inspire, to kind of show off a bit? Am I posting it just because I like the stuff? It might be a mixture of all three. And to say that anybody can completely take the ego out of it is probably a lie, because to some point we're proud of what we do and we should be, but it's using that properly. So I stopped really caring about it, but I still take Stark in, like seeing who I know, like who's going to like the stuff. It's the same people all the time, and it's great. And for people that are trying to grow like a presence on social media, that can be frustrating because it's like, it's the same 15 people liking it. But I got to shout out Brandon Schultz and Jorge De Hoya from the Strength and Context podcast, because they were talking about this a few months ago where, it's like people that get frustrated about that, where they see like, and social media creates such a falsified world. Like I'll use like running TikTok and Instagram as an example. Like sub 3 hour marathons and these crazy like sub 1 hour high rocks, that's not normal. That's elite. But that's the content that people see. So the bar is set high because the people that have those big presence are the ones that are on the elite spectrum of whatever they're doing. It's usually not the average or above average person in whatever field they are. It's the ones that are there that have a huge following, that have some kind of notoriety. And when you get frustrated, especially when you're starting out, that "Oh, I only got 50 likes and 2,000 views." When's the last time you were in a room with 2,000 people, let alone 50 people? That's a massive amount of people. And this is like straight from Brandon and Jorge. Like, I can't say this is mine because it's not. And they when they said that, that really kind of stuck with me. I went, yeah, that's a huge deal. Like, you got 25 people that like that. That means 25 people saw what you had to post. And yeah, it's just a click, but it's still, they took that time to recognize that you put something that they enjoyed or they found inspiring or they found educational. 25 people is a lot of people, right? So you have to put it in perspective on, hey, you're just getting started. And if you really want to get into numbers, let's say you let's say you have 400 followers and you got 50 likes on a post. That's a good percentage of your followers, whether it was people following you or not. 50 out of 400, that's a good chunk. Like, you're making an impact and you just got to stick to it. And if you're doing it because you love what you're doing, you think what you have is inspirational, educational, and you're not doing it for solely recognition, it'll start growing. It's not going to be a flash in a pan. It's not going to happen overnight. But regardless of your family or friends liking that, if you're getting 20 likes, 30 likes, 40 likes, 50 likes, 500 views, 400 views, 1,000 views, and then eventually that turns into larger numbers, that's an impact. So, like, you have the frame in which you look at it will either make you really resentful at times, or it'll be like, wow, like, I that's awesome. So, like, to all the creators, like, take a second and like stop being so hard on yourself and realize, like, hey, like, you're making an impact. It's a lot of people.
For sure. I think there's an important nuance to the conversation as well. And I know you're being a bit facetious to start the episode, but uh, it is understanding, did the person that you were hoping support your post, did they even see it? Right? Maybe they were on social media and it just didn't pop in their algorithm that day. Maybe they weren't on social media that day at all. So it's okay if stuff gets missed and if people are living their lives. For me, I think if I'm looking at it from the creator point of view, if you're listening to this as a creator, the issue should never be on, definitely not on positive, but there almost shouldn't even be an issue on indifference. The issue, at least what I get annoyed about sometimes, is when people start to be negative. Either they're negative or they're indifferent, but then they complain about the exact same thing that you can solve. So if I was 300 pounds and I saw you once a week in person, Greg, and you're posting stuff about high performance all the time online, maybe you've even reached out to me and said, hey, Coop, for what it's worth, I'm in the high performance field. I've got access to nutritionists, personal trainers, et cetera, et cetera. If you ever want a free consult or know anyone who might, just let me know. Let's say you say that to me, you post the content you do. I never engage with your content at all. Every time I'm with you, I'm talking about the Leafs or the Oilers or the Blue Jays or whatever, and I intentionally never bring up business, but I always find a way to complain. Man, my back's so sore. Man, I had a headache this morning. Man, the food just doesn't sit right. Like, I don't know if I got IBS or what's going on. If it's just not, it's not like, eventually I should have the self-awareness to realize how disrespectful I'm being to you. Because if you're my friend, how could you sit there and think anything other than, dude, every solution to everything that you're complaining about is literally what I do day to day. And you're not even willing to take me up on a free consult. So that's where I get annoyed with the indifference, is you can be indifferent all day long, just don't complain around me. That if you know that I can solve the problem, then, and I think that's the part that, And maybe I don't know if you experience that a lot, Greg. I experience that a ton in the financial world because I'm an open book with people. It's like whether you got $2 million in your bank account or $2 in your bank account or $22 million in your bank account or anything in between. Um, let's just have a conversation and see if I can help. No judgment, no commitment, no obligation. I'm always happy to just share resources, share education, give a perspective on what I do if I was in your shoes. And then you get around people and all they do is complain about money. It's like, this is what I do, guys. I, if we met and I showed you something, and then by the end of our conversation, we realized, yeah, you actually are kind of screwed. There is no solution for what you're looking for. Then, yeah, continue to complain about the government and what they're doing in the economy and society all day long. But if you're not willing to seek a solution, then like find some other people that are gonna be willing to hear you complain about the problem. And that's why I like being connected with people like yourself outside just the friendship element is that way when anytime somebody complains, maybe I can help them with the financial piece, but I've got a couple dozen other contacts in different spaces where I go, I could connect you with somebody within the next 5 minutes that could solve everything you're complaining about if you're actually willing to solve your problem instead of just complain about it.
Yeah, that's an important piece too on just in general, like whether it's social media or not, especially if you're not just a creator, you have a business, whether it's like Coop in the financial world or me in the performance coaching world. A piece of why people might not be reaching out or commenting or that is because they are not ready to seek that advice. And it's just like if you're trying to prospect and find a client, at times they're not going to want to, they're not ready for it. You might know as the coach, as the expert, as the service provider, whatever service or product you're offering, that it would be so perfect for the people you wish were liking your content or talking to you about your content. But if they're not there, they're not ready, there's almost, I hate to say there's nothing you can do as that coach or that expert, but there's very little that you can do, and you can't let that one or 10 people drag you down because you wish they would, and they're not, and they may never, and that's okay because there are people out there that will help you. And before I switch to talking about like the person on the other end, not the creators, not the business owners, I'll say this too, because I think creators are sometimes afraid to do this. Don't be afraid when you make a post that you really are like, this is a post that I want people to see, I want eyes on, whether it's a new initiative you have, it's just a really great educational piece that you want more people to see, but because you're starting out or you're small, whatever, you need that growth. Ask, text your circle, DM your circle, DM your family, be like, hey, all I need you to do, you don't even need to look at the post if you don't care that much. Could you like it? Could you make a comment, thumbs up, some emoji, share it, like it, tell somebody else to do it? When's the last time you've done that as a creator or a business owner? The worst thing that's going to happen is they'll say yes just to like shut you up and they won't do it. Or they'll say no. I would doubt they would say no, but they might just ignore it, whatever. Best case scenario, everybody you ask is going to do it. And now you got, 15 people sharing it out and more eyes on it than before. So, if you're stuck in that frustration, ask them and ask random people too. Hey, I noticed you've been following me for a long time. I'd really appreciate it if you could share this out. I think this is a really impactful piece, and I think it could help a lot of people in your network. Have a great day.
Totally. Do you think, Greg, that part of the reason people don't have the confidence to do that is because they're looking at business instead of what value can I add to the community? They're thinking of it through the lens of how can I get paid? Who can I sell? Who can buy my product or service? As opposed to how does my product or service or offering actually bring value?
My audio cut out for a second there. Sorry, dude. What you got to say that again?
Yeah, no worries. We'll cut this part out, I'd imagine, of the recording.
Nah, I think we'll keep it in. Make it real. No edits in this podcast.
Right on. Do you think the reason that when people make when people don't share these individual posts with people, do you think it's because they don't want to come across as pushy or salesy or and that like, hey, I'm worried about what people think, come from the element of maybe they're whether they realize it or not, their primary motivator for being in business is to make a sale and to make money as opposed to adding value to their community? Because I feel like if people came at it through the lens of I know that my product or service can add value to people, then it becomes a lot easier to ask somebody to share because you know that, hey, this isn't about me or this might not be about this individual person, but maybe they'll share it and somebody will see it and we can go change their life. Whether I make a sale or not, it'll just there'll be some service or some education or some value or something that can make a difference for people. So do you think obviously some of the reserve in doing that is just confidence, but do you think a lot of that confidence could just be attached to maybe the motive behind the post being in the wrong place to begin with?
Yeah, I think that that's always a factor. Outside of the individuals that have some amount of, like, I would say substantial success, where they know that it's okay to ask for that business. It's okay to ask for, even that promotion of their business. Where when you're starting out, maybe it's a new thing or it's something that you've done your whole life, but you've never done it as something that brings in revenue for you. So you feel like you can't or you shouldn't or that it'll devalue what you have. But here's the deal. Regardless of if anybody says it out loud or not, when you go into a gym, you know that there's a membership fee. There's a value to that. To get fit, you pay that membership fee, you get the gym, you get the sauna, you get the towels, you get all the stuff. If you're going to a financial advisor, if you're going to a coach, if you're going to the store, there is a price tag to almost everything in life. Everybody is aware of that. And yeah, if you're having a conversation or a consult, there's always going to be that talk. So, what is this going to cost me? Or if you present it properly, you can avoid that. But if it's your business and it's your main, especially if it's your main business and you don't have another business that's generating income either while you sleep or it's your 9 to 5 because you're still playing the two, the side hustle game, you have to be all in on yourself. If you don't ask for that business and you're just hoping people will come to you, you're not going to achieve the goals that you have more than likely. Like, you don't stumble into success. You have to go for it. And if it's uncomfortable asking the people closest to you, because especially, like let's say your finance and fitness are two great examples for that. That's why we do this. Because it's personal. Maybe your friends and family don't want you knowing, regardless of confidentiality, and like that's a part of the business. It's still there's that level of uncomfortableness. Fitness, I don't want my fit friend knowing that I'm so out of shape and that I'm this fat and that I have all this. Okay, then ask strangers, ask people that follow you, acquaintances that you don't have a personal connection with. There's a good chance that a lot of those people have been waiting for somebody to come help them because they are ready. They don't know how to ask. So, yeah, you have to be become more comfortable being uncomfortable and asking those hard questions. Because if you don't ask for the business, you're never going to get it. And
For
if you
sure.
ask for the business and you get a no, that's fine. You can learn from that. Why did you get that no? Move
Yeah,
on.
I love that. Here's my last thought on the creator side before we transition and wrap on the consumer side. A couple other considerations, and Greg, you brought up a lot of great points around just mindset of posting content. Uh, a big thing, and especially I love what you just ended on, is I say to people all the time, at least now, because a lot of my clientele are either referrals from or the exact people that I asked for their business 5 to 8 years ago. And now they're coming back around. And part of it's probably that they're a bit older and needs have changed. Maybe they bought a house or they have had kids or something that have presented, or their former advisor retired or something like that. But I would be naive if I didn't think that part of it was also I was 21 years old when I got started, single, no kids. And I'm sure there were some people that just looked at me and said, is he going to stick this out? And as it's proven that I've been in the industry 8 years now, and we've helped a ton of people and we're doing some good things and we've got success stories and testimonials and grown positive word of mouth in the community and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Some of those people are coming back around. So I think that's good perspective for someone who's especially newer to the entrepreneurial space is there's going to be some people that are a huge fit for what you're doing. You just haven't proven yet that you're the person to deliver on that. And the reality is that the people you know you for who you were, not for who you're trying to become. And it's going to take some time for you to rebrand yourself. Because if you were doing keg stands last week, or you were a teacher last week and you're trying to be a personal trainer this week, well, I've been following personal trainers on Instagram for 5 years, and you've been doing this for 5 days. So yeah, I want to support you, but do I want to think of all my results and put them in your hands? I don't know. So that shouldn't be discouraging. That should just be, oh, that's how business works. That's how human psychology works. That is okay. And you put the chip on your shoulder to go, yeah, part of me building a successful brand in the space, learning what I need to learn and adding value to my community is so that people come back around. And I've proven myself and I've proven my worth and my value to the marketplace. That's business 101. That's not anybody slighting you. People are well within their rights to do that. The other thing to consider if you're a creator is your content niche? Because there are going to be some people that maybe they don't want to like and engage with your stuff if it's just not relevant to them. If you're posting about, if your content's all about the life of a stay-at-home mom, there's going to be a lot of dudes that probably aren't going to engage. So yeah, your dad or your male cousin or your guy best friend or your guy coworker might not engage with your niche single mom content. If you're posting a bunch of shirtless pictures or half naked pictures in the gym, as a married man, even if you have made progress in the gym and I'm happy for you, I'm probably not going to be liking your half naked pictures on Instagram as a married man. So there's just some things like that that I think they're instead of jumping immediately into being triggered about why people aren't engaging with your stuff or liking your stuff, I think you got to give people the benefit of the doubt. Um, I don't immediately jump to, well, nobody supports me, or they must have jumped online and found a bad review about XYZ, or maybe it could be 25 other factors that could easily be overcome or don't really matter in the grand scheme of things or aren't that personal. It's one of the four agreements in the book. The four agreements is never take anything personally. Uh, so that's my last thought is just making sure that you understand that there are most times it's not personal and there's only really a small percentage of the time where it actually makes sense to be annoyed. Uh, and you got to have the ability to put yourself out there without expecting just because you put yourself out there doesn't mean you get everything in return immediately. If it was that easy, everyone would put out content, everybody would be successful. None of us would need to have jobs because we would just post on social media all day and get monetized because everybody supports us all the time. So, to summarize everything we talked about on the creator side, put out things because they're valuable, not because people are going to like it. Uh, don't expect everybody to engage with it or like it. Don't expect that when they don't do it, it's with malintent because maybe it's not. Uh, and yeah, I think that pretty much summarizes it on my side. Anything you would add briefly there, Greg, on the creator side before we transition into the consumer side?
Yeah, and I think this will be a good segue for business owners, entrepreneurs, creators, everybody that we've just been talking about. There's one more important thing we have to remember. We kind of touched on it, but not directly. Very few people outside of fellow creators, entrepreneurs, business owners, people that are making like in that realm have the same mindset as us. They don't think the way we do. They don't see posts and go, wow, that person's crushing it. I'm going to follow them. I'm going to like their stuff. Great impact. This is amazing. Wow, that person just started a business. That's sick. Good for them. I might not purchase anything from them, but I'm going to do what I can to support them my way and that. People that are in the 9 to 5 realm, and I'm not saying they're less, they just have a different mindset. And the 9 to 5ers, the union workers, the you know typical everyday person doesn't have that same worldview. So they're not going to look at that and go, wow, that's sick. Or like, man, great editing. Oh, wow, that's such a unique idea. Wow, I hope that person keeps grinding and makes it through that, 5 year hump. Man, they're probably struggling every day because they've put everything into this. I hope they make it out. I can't wait to see that day when they go from grinding, grinding, grinding to like, look at that. I have a full client list. I had to hire 2 people. Most people don't think that way. That being said, for the people on the other side of the coin, try to adapt that vision and try to think, especially if they're your friend. If they're your friend, your family, to some extent, you know how they think, you know how they view things, especially if you're in their circle or, one of their close circles. You talk to them on a semi-regular basis. If you're a family member, I hope you do. Uh, you understand their motivations to some point. So because of that, try not to fall into the social media trap of everything sucks, we're all gonna die. Why are they doing UFC on the White House lawn? All of this stuff where, yeah, it's not that bad, right? There's not an agenda to everything. We're brainwashed to view that there's an agenda here. What is this? What is instead just go, that's cool. They're doing something unique. They're doing a fundraiser. They're doing Men's Mental Health Month posts. They're growing their business. Oh, I've never seen them post a educational video on like how to do a deadlift or how to make your money work for you in 3 easy steps. Or that was a great quote they shared. It's seriously the smallest action. 2 clicks on your phone and it gives them a like. It's a tiny action, but it could mean the world to that person to see, oh my God, my cousin finally liked it, or my brother finally shared it, or my sister finally commented. That's great. And if you are talking to them often and you're always like pumping their tires in person, that's important too. And you shouldn't stop doing that. But when you see them posting so often, that probably means they're putting a lot of effort into it. So that additional kudos online in the world we live in now, it means a lot, and it does boost them in the algorithm. And then you will see their stuff more often because the reason maybe, and if you're not, well, I don't see your stuff ever because you're in that realm of everything's the world's going to end. That's the content you see. But if you start liking more of your business owners in your life, more entrepreneurs, more content creators, more fitness professionals, you'll start seeing their stuff more, and then you can support them more. So set just a little bit of effort into helping those people in your life because it's not that much effort to give them a thumbs up.
I completely agree. I'm going to touch on the UFC thing before I get into my points on this. I'll challenge people to think about this a little bit differently. Not Republican, Democrat. Here's a thing when it comes to sports world. Their MMA fighters have never had an opportunity like that before. You win the Stanley Cup, you are on a national team at an Olympic level, you win the World Series, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You get an invite to the White House. regardless of who is in office. A UFC champion does not get an invite to the White House for becoming a UFC champion. So that was the first time for someone like a Justin Gaethje, for example, who has been a complete warrior of the sport for a decade, where he's ever had the opportunity to go. So is it maybe could you think it's a little bit silly to a degree that he's fighting outside on the White House lawn and that's his first trip there as opposed to, oh, you won the fight, now you're in a suit and tie, you're going to meet the president, whatever. Sure, maybe. But how about you take a step back for a minute and appreciate that there's 80,000 people that came to a watch party that how many of them had actually been to the White House recently? In a country that's super divided right now, maybe it's a good thing to have that many people in front of Parliament, proving that, hey, we could all come together without fighting and debating and bickering and having riots and this and that and the next. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a cool opportunity for those fighters who got to walk through the White House and for the celebrities who got to hang out there, the entrepreneurs who got to hang out there. So, do we have to look at the bad in absolutely everything, or could we keep some perspective? Also, yeah, it was pretty sick seeing the setup that, by the way, the UFC put on. Not that Donald Trump put on, that the UFC put on. So the US government didn't pay for it. Dana White paid for it. And yeah, it looked sick, that backdrop. So if you took the political out of it and stopped just trying to pick fights all the time and you could just appreciate stuff, yeah, I appreciate seeing that type of architecture in the background of a combat sport. I thought that was pretty cool. I appreciate that Justin Gaethje made 3 times as much money in fight night bonuses than he would have ever somewhere else because of the magnitude of the event. And now that guy can go off to retirement and actually be financially independent, probably because of that event. I appreciate that a Canadian fighter was able to go to the White House and play "O Canada" as his walkout music without anybody raising a stink. That is the epitome of free speech, the ability to do that not on your home soil. So there's a lot of really cool things about that event that are not being reflected on social media.
I agree. That's kind of why I slipped it in there too, because and everybody's seen the posts about it, like, oh, we're on both sides. But again, like, one, shout out to Justin Gaethje, one of my favorite all-time UFC fighters, pulls it off. Amazing fight. Ilya Topuria, one of the greatest strikers, and they went pound for pound on that one. That was sick. But again, it's not this like people like, oh, it's just America. Really? Where where's Ilya Topuria from? Not America. English is his second language. He's Spanish, right? We had Canadians in there. There's people from all like UFC is very multicultural, right? But you could Cinderella story, the American wins there, and that's a cool moment. But what else did it do? It like you touched right. It brought such a cool backdrop, and on the flip side of it, a lot of the fighters were like, "Ah, we have to fight outside. That's not a controlled environment. This is gonna suck. What if it's windy? What if it's wet? What if it's humid? It's not AC'd. It adds a lot of different dynamics. So it's not like it was the fighters were all like, yeah, it was exciting because of the platform it gave them. And not in Canada, but now like all of the money that was put into that, UFC in the States and soon in Canada is not a pay-per-view thing anymore. It's on a subscription to Paramount Plus. It's way cheaper. You don't have to pay 60, 50, 80, $100 to watch the UFC anymore. You pay, your monthly subscription that whatever, we can get into that another episode, but overall it's going to be less money, so it's more accessible because everybody has those subscriptions. And, the ulterior things, Travis Pastrana, jokingly to Dana White, Travis Pastrana, one of the greatest extreme sport athletes in the world, but I'd love to backflip at the White House. Dana went, hold that. Calls him and goes, yeah, bring 6 of the best guys you know. So 6 of the best motocross riders in the world, racers, freestyle guys, got to set up ramps and do a bunch of tricks in front of the White House the day before the event. That's sick. There's nothing political about a backflip on a dirt bike. That's just cool. And they got to do that. They'll never get that opportunity again. They never had that opportunity before. So it just created a lot of cool things. And to bring it back to what we're talking about, sometimes when you see your friends and family that are in the business world, in the entrepreneur world, in the content creator world, that's cool, whatever they're doing. I don't understand it. I don't need that service, but that's freaking cool. I'm gonna give them a like for putting themselves out there, doing something. Probably took a little bit of pressure because they were afraid to put themselves out there, but look at what they're doing. It's so cool. And if that's the only reason you ever like something and that's how you view it, that is great because that gives them the kudos that they're looking for.
Absolutely. That's my, so here's my thought on the consumer side after the UFC side tangent, but there's a lot of people in today's economy that feel pretty helpless. How am I going to afford to buy a home? How am I going to afford to raise a family? How am I going to find the right partner? How am I going to do that and stay in shape? How am I going to retire one day? Am I going to live a life of fulfillment? Can I find a job that I'm passionate about? All of these questions that plague people. And I'm sure in a future episode, we'll do a wrap on Men's Mental Health Month as we're in it right now. Here's my challenge to people who are consuming content. First and foremost, 100%, Greg, what you talked about is what you consume will compound. So if you feel like you're in a negative space, audit what you're consuming. And if it's just mindless stuff that you get the dopamine hit and it's distracting you from life, but it's not really entertaining and it makes you feel empty, then if you're going to consume content, maybe be a little bit more intentional about you don't need to cold turkey cut out all that stuff, but try to consume some better stuff is one. So I completely agree with your point there, Greg. The second thing is the only way to stop feeling helpless is to get helpful. It feels really good to comment on somebody's post and just hype them up. And I learned this from my mom growing up, and she did it in person. And it almost would be weird to do this in person this day and age. I don't know, but it just everywhere we went, if it was a server at a restaurant or just somebody in passing, it was always, "Oh, I really like your hair. Oh, you have an awesome smile." And it was just little compliments like that. And you just watch someone who's just going through their day to day mindlessly, and mom would throw a compliment out, and it would just completely reshape their whole day. And I need to do way more of that, but learning from her, it allows me to go on social media and I have no problem commenting, even if it's just a couple of like fire emojis or something on somebody's post. It feels good to know that somebody else is going to feel good because of something that you did, especially when it doesn't cost you that much time or that much money. So if you want to feel less helpless, just get way more helpful. Start looking for ways within your network that you could do a digital, no cost, low effort, low commitment version of holding a door open or giving a big tip or all the stuff you see Mr. Beast doing, throwing millions of dollars into. What's the $0 version of that? And go online and just Google, I want to be a more helpful person to my friends and family. Some of them run businesses, some of them are employees, some of them post on social media, some of them don't. What are some ideas as to how I could get more helpful? And it's okay. That's one thing it's okay to be selfish with. If you are being helpful because it feels good, then be as selfish as you want to be. If the intent even if you're being selfish, if the outcome at the end of it is positivity, awesome. That's great. So that was a big one for me. And I'm curious, Greg, on that line of being helpful. If time and money were no object, the performance coaching side of what you do, would you still do it for free?
Yep. Easiest question you've ever asked me. 100%. I don't
I,
know.
I I used to talk about that all the time with one of the people I was in business with who formerly was a teacher and just loved the financial education element of what we did. And he would always say to me, he's like, Coop, if I was still teaching full time, I would run this business part time if it never paid me. Because I just think it's that important to society and it's that much fun to teach and it makes that big of a difference for people. And I feel the exact same way. So I would challenge maybe, look, if you're a welder, 9 to 5, and you get home and you're like, you know what? I don't really love this. It's just what pays the bills. Or you're a teacher, and maybe you've fallen out of love with teaching because you didn't expect the overwhelm of parent pressure, class sizes, or whatever the case may be. Maybe you just don't love it the way you did before. You don't have to be crazy passionate about what you're doing so long as it pays the bills in today's economy. But you do need to find something to be passionate about. And maybe that thing, until you find your passion, maybe it's just pouring into other people's passions. That could be it. What's the thing that you would do for free? And social media and hyping other people up and referring them out to other people and being the connector and the supporter and the advocate, that could be your brand and your identity and your passion point until you find your thing. And I promise you, if you spend the extra even 15 minutes a night after work being that person, you will build such an awesome network of people that you will end up in a job making way more money, or you'll find a passion project that you can work on because there's going to be so many people that are appreciative of you and grateful for your support that they're going to eventually reciprocate as well.
I think that's a great note to end it on. And I'll wrap it up with this, right? For the side of the coin where the entrepreneurs, the business owners, the content creators, the fitness professionals, all of those people are, don't be afraid to ask for that support. You know whether you're very vibrato about it or you're very held back about it, the value you bring, or else you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. So if you want a bigger presence on social media, since that's what we're talking about today, ask your friends, your family, the people around you, the strangers that follow you that like all your stuff to share it out, to like it, to comment, and it'll start growing. You know, if you send out 30 messages and 5 do it, well, that's 5 more you had than yesterday. And like Coop just finished with, if you're the person on the other side of the coin, the consumer, try to, especially with the people in your life that are on the other side, try to think just for a moment a little bit like them. Hey, think about what cool thing they're doing, regardless if you ever use their service or if you need it or if you're in the same field. Maybe you think that you're competing with them. Just give them a fire emoji, a like, share it out, message them, but not just privately. Do it out in the open because it supports them and it helps them grow and it helps get their message out. And for you personally, it'll help get more positive stuff in your algorithm because you start liking that stuff. The algorithm changes on a dime. If you like 3 of their posts 3 days in a row, you're going to see other coaches. You're going to see other motivation. You're going to see Andy Frisella pop up. You're going to see Gary Vee. You're going to see all these people. You're going to see more positive content, and it might help you because you are helping them. So, can be a very big point of frustration, but if you flip the coin, I shouldn't say that because we're anyway. If you flipped how you view it, it can make a big impact in everybody's life. So, yeah,
Awesome. Appreciate the insight this week, Greg. We'll see you next time.
sounds good, Coop. See you later. Thanks for tuning in this week. If you found value in today's episode, like, subscribe, and share with someone in your circle so they too can build a stronger life and a more resilient future.